Nathan Cole loved patterns. As a university controller, Patterns paid the mortgage and kept budgets honest. On a gray Tuesday in Denver, a new Pattern arrived with a slam of chrome on steel. A luxury SUV kissed the back of Nathan's old sedan, and a tall man in an expensive suit stepped out mid-call, smirking like he owned the sidewalk. "I'm Derek Vaughn," the man said, barely glancing up as he handed over a card. "We'll have insurance deal with it. You're not hurt, right?" Then, almost lazily, he added, "Hey, do you know a Jenna Morales? Compliance. Halpern and Ames. Saw her at the Marriott last week. That blue dress unreal." Nathan's grip tightened on the card. Jenna had told him she'd worked late that night. No conference, no hotel, no blue dress. She'd left their house in a slate pantsuit. Now a stranger's compliment made the air thin and bright around Nathan's ears. He said nothing, only nodded, and watched Derek drive away as if nothing in the world could dent him. At home, Jenna breezed in, kissed Nathan's cheek, and asked about his day while sorting the mail. Nathan mentioned Derek. For a heartbeat, the envelopes in her hand went still. Then she smiled too quickly. "Probably confusing me with someone else. You know how those events blur together." Her phone buzzed on the counter. A text preview hovered on the lock screen. "Can't wait for Thursday. D." Nathan didn't unlock it. He stared until the screen went black and, later that night, opened his laptop to begin a different kind of ledger. Places, times, and tiny lies that either add up or collapse a life. 1136. Patterns emerged fast. Extra makeup on certain mornings. Errands that stretched too long. A new credit line that Nathan never saw opened in Jenna's name. And a personal loan that never reached their joint accounts. Charges from a downtown bistro on nights she was underwater. Hotel stays in the suburbs. Luxury lingerie from shops Jenna didn't patronize before. Nathan's spreadsheets didn't get angry. They told the truth. And as he highlighted cell after cell, Chloe, 17, bright-eyed, half Nathan's quiet and half Jenna's fire, knocked on his door. "Dad, you okay?" "Mom's been weird. Like secretly happy." Nathan swallowed. "Just work," he said, and the lie tasted thin. 1136. The next day, instead of going to campus, Nathan waited across from Halpern and Ames. At 11:47 a.m., Jenna walked to a corner coffee shop. Derek was there already. They leaned close. His hand brushed hers. Hers didn't move away. 43 minutes later, they crossed to the garage together, his hand guiding the small of her back as though he'd bought the air around her. Nathan followed, 2 cars behind, to a discreet hotel 20 minutes west. He waited. 3 hours. That night Jenna came home, exhausted from a review. Nathan cooked dinner. He added a new tab to the ledger. Thursdays. Hotels. Derek. The blue dress line now had a street address. Ethan didn't blow up. That wasn't his way. He'd spent too many years knowing that the person who shouts first usually loses ground. Instead, he went quiet, deliberate, calculated, the way a man approaches a delicate balance sheet where one wrong number can bring the whole structure down. For the next 3 weeks, Ethan called in sick more times than he had in the last 5 years. He wasn't resting. He was watching, following, recording. The accountant in him wasn't looking for a single incriminating moment. He was compiling a pattern. Patterns never lie. Tuesdays were always lunch and a drive to Cole's high-rise apartment downtown. Glass walls, rooftop pool, a view worth more than Ethan's annual salary. Thursdays were the Fairmont Hotel. Madison's smiles at home were brighter on those nights, her voice lighter. She hummed while cooking pasta, tapped her fingers against her wine glass like she had a secret she didn't mind keeping. The more Ethan watched, the more the numbers told him about Cole Maddox. And Cole, for all his polish, was sloppy with his life. The man lived in a luxury apartment leased through the company, drove a Cadillac he was 3 payments behind on, and carried debts Ethan recognized instantly. Casino markers and private IOUs that never appeared on a bank statement. Then came the email. Cole's personal account was secured with the kind of password a teenager could guess, his initials and a birthday. Ethan didn't hack for thrills. He hacked to know. The inbox was a goldmine of overdue notices, high-stakes poker invitations, and thinly veiled threats from creditors. And nestled between them were messages from Madison. Not love letters. No, she was too careful for that. But little notes about transfers, and helping with the balance. Ethan checked the dates, then cross-referenced them with their joint account withdrawals. His jaw tightened. She wasn't just risking their marriage. She was moving his money to patch another man's gambling holes. Ethan's work used to be about safeguarding budgets. Now, it was about safeguarding himself and his daughter, Lily, 17, whip-smart, with her mother's quick smile but her father's cautious eyes. One evening, as he sat at the kitchen table reviewing more statements, Lily leaned in the doorway. "You've been acting weird lately," she said. "And Mom's been different." Ethan kept his tone light. "Different how?" "Happy. Like, secret happy. She's buying new clothes. Expensive stuff. She's on her phone a lot, smiling at it. You don't see it." He forced a smile. "Maybe she's got a big win at work." Lily didn't look convinced, but she let it go. By the second Thursday in March, Ethan had his timeline nailed down to the minute. He even knew which elevator Cole and Madison usually took at the Fairmont. But it wasn't enough to know. He wanted it documented, airtight. That's when he rented the office. It was a small, single-room space in a building directly across from Halpern and Ames. Paid 3 months up front in cash from his retirement fund. The landlord didn't ask questions, and Ethan didn't offer explanations. From there, he had a perfect vantage point for photos, plus a safe place to store the high-end camera gear he bought. Long lens, discreet tripod, and enough memory cards to hold months of footage. He also installed tracking software at home, not on Madison's phone, but on the router. Every email, every site, every time she connected to the Wi-Fi, he could see, and what he saw tightened his stomach. Multiple visits to divorce attorney websites, an appointment booked for a consultation under her work email, bank transfers, small, regular, always to her personal account. The picture was no longer just about infidelity. It was about an exit plan. Hers. Ethan began thinking less like a betrayed husband and more like a strategist. He didn't want to confront Madison in a fit of rage. He wanted her cornered, unable to twist the truth or walk away without consequence. Cole Maddox, he decided, will be the first crack in the dam. If the man's finances were as shaky as they appeared, Ethan could give them a nudge. And in the process, Madison's carefully crafted secret life might come crashing down with him. His first move was subtle. An anonymous email to Halpern and Ames' internal audit department, flagging possible irregularities in travel and expense reports. He didn't accuse anyone by name, but he included dates, amounts, and just enough detail to ensure Cole's filings would draw attention. The second move was personal, a polite, concerned phone call to Boston, where Cole's wife, Vanessa, lived with their 2 kids. Ethan introduced himself as a colleague, expressing concern over some inconsistencies in joint accounts Cole might have access to. He left her with just enough curiosity and suspicion to check her own statements. The third move was the boldest. He reached out to a private investigator, one Vanessa had quietly hired to confirm Cole's cheating, and offered helpful financial information he'd come across. By the end of the month, the stage was set. The numbers were about to speak for themselves, and Ethan knew from experience, numbers never shout. They whisper just loud enough for the right people to hear. It started as a murmur in the corporate halls, quiet talk about audit reviews and travel discrepancies. Ethan didn't need to hear Madison say it to know she was worried. He could see in the way she gripped her phone tighter when certain emails came in, the way her eyes darted to the corner whenever her supervisor passed her desk. By the second week, Cole Maddox wasn't striding through Halpern and Ames like he owned the place anymore. He still wore the same sharp suits, but there was a pinch around his mouth now, a stiffness in his step, like a man trying to carry an armful of glass without dropping any. Ethan observed all of it from his rented office across the street, camera ready. Through his lens, he caught glimpses of Madison and Cole together. No more hand-holding in public, no more lingering lunches. They were meeting less, and when they did, their conversations looked clipped, urgent. He could almost feel the heat turning up on Cole, and he'd only just begun. One Thursday afternoon, Ethan took his usual position at the Fairmont Hotel's bar, nursing a coffee while Madison and Cole met upstairs. 40 minutes later, much shorter than their usual 3-hour disappearances, the elevator doors opened. Madison stepped out first, her posture tight, her face flushed, not with pleasure, but with irritation. Cole followed, jaw set. Speaking in quick bursts, she didn't answer. They moved through the lobby without touching, without smiling. Ethan didn't need to hear the words. The body language was enough. Something had cracked. That evening, Madison came home early for the first time in months. She hung up her coat, opened a bottle of wine, and poured herself a glass before even taking off her heels. Long day. Ethan asked from the kitchen. She gave a brittle laugh. Stressful. There's some kind of audit at work. Everyone's tense. It's probably nothing, but you know how these things snowball. He murmured. Audits don't just appear out of thin air. Someone usually has a reason to start one. Her eyes flickered toward him for a fraction of a second before she shrugged and left the room. The next week brought the first public blow. Through the office window, Ethan watched two suited men escort Cole from the building. No cuffs, yet, but enough of a scene to send whispers rippling across the lobby. Madison wasn't at work that day. Ethan knew because he'd checked. Her car was gone by mid-morning, her GPS pinging from a coffee shop miles away. That evening, she didn't mention Cole, the audit, or the scene in the lobby. She just poured herself another drink and retreated to the bedroom early. Ethan let her. Every silence she offered was another piece falling into place. When the Betrayal break came, it was decisive. Vanessa Maddox, armed with credit card statements, wire transfers, and the private investigator's dossier, had filed for divorce and sent copies of her findings to federal authorities. Within days, Cole Maddox was arrested for embezzlement, wire fraud, and corporate theft. The local business journal splashed his mugshot across the front page. Ethan didn't celebrate. Not yet. He knew the next move had to be personal, in time so there was no path for Madison to wriggle free. That Saturday, Ethan printed every record he'd gathered over the past 3 months. Photos of Madison and Cole entering hotels and apartments during work hours. Bank statements showing transfers out of their joint account. Copies of her new credit card statements, maxed on purchases she'd never be able to justify. Screenshots of emails and text previews. Careful, but damning. He stacked them neatly in a manila folder and set it on the kitchen table. When Madison came home, she looked tired, hair pulled back, eyes shadowed. She paused when she saw the folder. What's this? Ethan didn't raise his voice. Sit down. She hesitated, then took a seat, fingertips brushing the cardboard like it might burn her. I know, he said simply. Her eyes darted to his. Know what? About Cole. The hotels. The money transfers. The loan in our names. The blue dress you never wore for me. Madison's face went through a slow rotation of emotions. Shock, denial, calculation, and finally a kind of wary acceptance. How long? She asked. Since the day he hit my car, Ethan said. That's when you stopped being my wife and started being an entry in my ledger. She opened the folder, flipping through the evidence. This is a lot of work. I'm good at my job, he said evenly. And my job right now is making sure you can't take anything more from me. Or from Lily. Her jaw tightened. What do you want? Ethan leaned back, voice calm but final. I want you out tonight. You'll sign divorce papers giving me full custody. You'll leave with what you came into this marriage with. And nothing more. That's not fair. Neither is stealing from your family to bankroll another man's gambling debts, he said, the words sharp as glass. Pack your things. She stared at him for a long moment, then closed the folder. I never meant for it to happen like this. But it did, Ethan said, and now it's over. That night, Madison packed 2 suitcases. Ethan carried them to her car without a word. When Lily came home, she found the house quieter than usual. Where's Mom? She asked. Ethan sat her down and told her, carefully, but truthfully, what had happened. Are you getting divorced? She asked. Yes. Can I stay with you? Always, he said. And for the first time in months, the house felt still, not with tension, but with relief. 2 months after Madison moved out, the air in Ethan's home felt lighter. He cooked dinner without checking the clock, went for long walks with Lily, and even found himself lingering over books in the evenings. But peace never stays unchallenged, not when the other party refuses to accept it's over. It started with a knock on a Saturday morning. Madison stood on the porch in a worn cardigan, hair shorter, face drawn. You destroyed us like a spreadsheet problem, she said flatly. You ruined Cole. You ruined me. Because you couldn't stand that I was happy. Ethan crossed his arms. You destroyed yourself. I just made sure the truth had consequences. Her eyes sharpened. If you just talked to me, maybe I would have stopped. Would you have? He asked. She hesitated, glancing away. I don't know. That's what I thought, he said quietly. Over the next few weeks, Ethan noticed small signs someone was trying to rattle him. A keyed scratch running the length of his car, 2 block number calls that ended as soon as he answered. One night, a note tucked under his wiper blade read, Saints Fall 2. He didn't flinch. He filed a police report, upgraded his home security, and made sure Lily never walked to the bus stop alone. Whoever wanted to scare him would have to try harder. Then came Madison's last-ditch attempt at control. Through a mutual acquaintance, she spread the rumor that Ethan had fabricated evidence against Cole, trying to poison his reputation in the same circles where his integrity was his livelihood. It fizzled fast. Halpern and Ames' internal audit had its own independent proof of Cole's crimes, and Vanessa's private investigator had time-stamped photos Ethan had never even seen. The truth was too well documented to rewrite. One evening, Lily brought home an essay prompt for a scholarship application. Describe a time you showed resilience. She looked at Ethan across the dinner table and said, I think I already know my story. He didn't need to ask which one. Spring came to Denver with longer days and a kind of quiet Ethan hadn't felt in years. He and Lily planted tomatoes in the backyard, her laughter mixing with the clink of garden tools. The house no longer felt like a place where secrets lived. It felt like a home. One Friday evening, Lily came in from the porch, holding her phone. Mom called again, she said. I didn't answer. Ethan wiped his hands on a dish towel. When you're ready, you'll decide what kind of relationship you want with her. That's yours to choose. Lily nodded, then smiled faintly. I already know. A week later, Ethan stopped by a local bookstore, drawn in by a flyer for an author event. He found himself talking to a woman in line, Claire, sharp-eyed and warm-voiced, with a quick laugh. They talked about books, about travel, about nothing and everything. When she handed him her number, he didn't promise to call, but he didn't throw it away, either. That night, sitting on the porch under a quiet sky, Ethan thought about how far things had come. He'd lost a wife but kept his daughter, lost his naive faith but gained the ability to protect what mattered. The ledger in his mind was balanced, not in revenge alone, but in knowing he'd acted with precision, truth, and enough restraint to leave no loose ends. Lily joined him, leaning her head on his shoulder. You okay, Dad? Better than okay, he said. For the first time in a long while, it was true.